All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Ginger Williams. I am here getting ready to start our World Card Making Week class number 2. And just as a little disclosure here, I am streaming this as if it's live, but it has been previously recorded. I found myself with a bit of a cold this morning and decided that considering that I might be losing my voice a little bit, I wanted to record this ahead of time so we could be sure that we can have our class tonight. That said, I will be live in the comments though, so still feel free to ask your questions and I will do my best to answer them in the comments. So almost as good as being totally live, right? So hopefully that will help us out with making sure we still have a good class tonight. And the name of the class tonight is the Costume Cuties class. And we're going to be diving into that along with a new die cutting guide that I prepared to help us make some fun costume cuties. So here we go over at my desk. You can see I've got some fun things for us to work on tonight. Hi, by the way. But first, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping with some things that are going on this week as part of our World Card Making celebration. I have a schedule for our events, and here we are over here on, what are we on? We're about 4 or 5 days into our celebration, and there's still plenty of fun things coming. If you missed any of the previous items, you can go back and watch the live kickoff event from Friday night on our Facebook page under the videos tab, or you can watch my class number 1 from Saturday, where I went through our brand new Foundations 28, as well as 25, Foundations 25, as well as our new shaker pouches. Other fun things are still coming up, including Thursday night. We have Mary Ann teaching a fun new class using our new foundations combined with Costume Cuties. So awesome new things still coming up, as well as a couple things that have been happening in our Facebook group, including the World Card Making Week grand prizes that are being awarded. One to our Queen of Compliments and one to our Queen of the Crop. The Queen of the Crop is taking home a $100 prize. This will be awarded to someone who's participating in our card making contest and being rather prolific about it. We'll be randomly selecting a winner from among those that are participating. We also will be picking a winner for our $50 gift card. This is a Queen and Company gift card based on people who are complimenting, praising, loving, liking, leaving wonderful comments on all of the amazing projects that are being posted to our Facebook group this week. There's been some really fantastic options or projects posted there, and we would love for you to check them out and make sure that they know how much they're inspiring all of us. Also, not just Queen of the Crop, but we have a bunch of other winners that will be part of our, or will be selected from our contest. 5 winners each will get a $10 gift card based upon those who go into the contest thread. And on every card or project that catches your eye, if you hit that like button, then the top 5 winners will take home a gift card from that part of the contest. So be sure and look at that contest thread and hit those like buttons to help us pick our winners. 5 other winners will also be randomly selected from just every single entry. So multiple chances to win, and I hope that you're taking some time this week to do some creating and then posting them in our royalty Facebook group for a chance to participate in those events. All right, so for today, you can see I've got some things ready to roll here as we assemble some costume cuties, but I also want to introduce die cutting guide number 9. Now you can see I've already kind of been using mine. I've inked it up and already it doesn't look as pretty as it did when I first printed it out, but yours won't look that way. But our die cutting guides, now many of our long-term fans are quite familiar with how these work. You select a few pieces of pattern paper and a few solids, whether that's white or some other coordinating color. And then I show you how you can lay out some of our foundation dies on those papers to cut your different shapes. And then based on these sketches in the back, you can take those shapes that were assembled and create a bunch of card bases that are ready for a focal point, such as our Costume Cuties, which is what we'll be using today. So that is what we're going to be running through, and I'll give you all the details of how this works in case you're new. But first thing we're going to do, though, is play with the Costume Cuties kit. Now, this kit is adorable, and it just launched last week. And you can see that you get all of these fun shaker shapes in the kit. You get your mad scientist, your witch, your pumpkin costume, your vampire, spider, zombie girl, ghost. All of those fun shapes are in this kit. And all of the dies that you need, you can see from the die guide, all of the shapes that are needed to create each one. And all of those dies are in the kit, as well as the foam pieces that you need to make them, the acetate covers that you need to make them, some fun shaker toppings to make them, a stamp set, pattern paper. It's all in the kit. And I went through all of that on Friday night if you want more details about what is included. You can see I've done prep work not just for our Costume Cuties, but a little bit of prep work for our card bases. So I'm going to try to complete 4 cards tonight. Hopefully we can squeeze in all of that in the time we have together. And we're going to start by doing a little bit of assembling here. So you can see I have already die cut the pieces for the witch. And I'm going to show you how she comes together. So let me grab my glue bottle here. And we can get started. So the first thing we're going to do is complete the shaker. And in this shape, the shaker is her skirt, the witch's skirt. So we're going to go ahead and pull off the liner on the back side of the adhesive foam. And we're going to attach that to the piece that I cut out using the outline dies that are not included in the kit unless you buy the bundle. And they're not, you don't have to have them. I could have just taken that foam and stuck it down on a piece of purple paper and taken my scissors and trimmed around it. But it certainly is faster and easier to be able to use the outline dies to already have that shape cut for you. Save yourself from some fussy cutting. Now, one of the things that is part of her skirt is this fun little decorative scalloped edge. So the first thing we're going to do, so that I don't forget to do it later, is take it and we're going to glue it underneath the cover, the decorative cover to her shaker skirt. So let's get some glue on there. I always try to do this type of step first before I get too far into the shaker, because often if there's a little piece like that that needs to be added, I get so excited about making the shaker that I don't complete that step, and then I go, oh wait, now I have to take something apart. So just putting that little bit of an extra touch, decorative touch on there first so that we can not forget it later. Now you can see I've already put together a shaker mix of toppings. Everything in here is from the kit except for some diamonds. I just wanted some extra sparkle in here. And I put together a plenty because we're going to use this mix for more than one shaker tonight. So I'm going to take my little spoon and I'm just going to gather up some of this because you can see her skirt doesn't need a whole lot. And we have plenty here, so I don't want to completely overfill her skirt. I want it to shake and move around. Oops, hold on just a second. I've got noise in the background we want to get rid of. There we go. So that's pretty good. A pretty good little mix for, if I get it to focus, for her little shaker skirt. You've got some good variety in the colors, plus enough room to still be able to move. This fun little post note is holding onto my acetate and helping me not to lose it. Let's see here. Now let's go ahead and uncover the adhesive by pulling that liner off. And now we can seal in our shaker toppings inside of her cute little skirt. There we go. See how well they are going to move around now. Okay. Now let's complete the base of her skirt by gluing that decorative top on, along with its cute little scalloped bottom. The witch is probably my favorite shape in this particular kit. There's a lot of good ones, but she's just particularly adorable. Oh, and I got a little glue where I didn't want it right in the corner there, so let me wipe that off before we push it down. Okay. I'm using art glitter glue as my adhesive. It's one of my favorites because it's a little bit forgiving and yet it's also, once dry, very, very strong. There we go. Shaker skirt. Okay. Now, you can choose with which way you want to go next. You want to build up or do you want to build down? And we're going to go up this time, which means that I'm going to start with, let me zoom in just a little bit here as we work on her head here. with our face, and that means first her hair layer is going to go in the back, and then we have another hair layer that goes on top to give her kind of some bangs and some dimension to her hair. So let's glue a little glue on the back of her head here and get her head put on there. I don't want to put it all the way up at the top just because I want a little bit of room. Because we're putting a hat on her, I want her face down just a little bit. It gives us a little bit more room to add her eyes and stuff later. Although that's just personal preference. You can put it together however you like. But you can see now how her bangs come together to kind of help complete her face area there. There we go. Okay, now let's do her hat. The hat comes in 3 pieces that of course are optional. You could just cut out this piece and use it, but it has some fun decorative elements as well. Let me go ahead and add the brim of her hat just across the base there. Very good. And then this is a fun little buckle piece, and we'll add it right to the center of her hat, although of course you could put it on the side or something if you wanted. A little bit of glue, we'll get that in position. There we go. Isn't that a cute little hat? I love the tail on it. Lots of character on that tail. I'm going to move my glue bottle where I can stop reaching across your screen every time I need to get to it. There we go. Okay, so now just across the top of her head, and if you want to, you can tilt it a little bit, or you can add it just straight on. I'm going to tilt mine just a touch here, just for that little bit of extra personality. You really want to bring it down almost to the top of her hair, or right at the top of her hair, but you want to make sure you don't cover up her bangs too much, so that they still show through, or still look like bangs at least. Okay, now that gives us a little space where we can glue her shirt on. So we'll add that here to the top of her neck. And then that'll be the perfect guide to help us know where her arm should go. Now her arms are separate from her head because we use the same arms and head on a bunch of different shapes. And based on what which shape you're doing, you might want the arms to come out at a little different angle or a little different length, especially like for the pumpkin. And you can see here our spider. They're not all the same, and so that's why if you're wondering why are the arms detached, that's why, is to make sure that we could do some double duty with some of our shapes here. So I'm going to give some glue here to the back of her arm, the top of her arm, and then we'll line it up with her sleeve and see how far. If you look at the die guide, you can kind of get an idea for how far out you would want her arm to come. So let's go ahead and add that about here. Don't need too much coming out. Now, if you were popping up your layers, you might actually want to trim some of her arm length because it might poke out. Like so it's behind her hair right now, right? So that makes it easy to hide any extra length that you don't want showing. But if you were popping up and having the hair be a separate layer and putting her arm underneath her shirt instead of underneath her hair, you may actually want to trim that a little bit. And it says so in the instructions, kind of gives you a little bit of, oh, there it is, information about if you want, her arms up a little higher, or if you're layering it differently, you can go ahead and give them a trim from the shoulder side. Okay, let's get the arm number 2 on here. And make sure that it's not longer than the other arm. Push it up just a little bit more. There we go. There, now she's coming together very nicely. I have an extra buckle here because when you cut that die, it's connected to a different die. We don't need that one, so I'm going to move it away so it doesn't confuse me here. Okay. Now, I think before I put the shaker on, I think we'll do her eyes next. The eyes are small, and not having the bulk of the shaker in the way will probably help me with that. Okay, So her eyes are kind of fun. This kit has several different eye options for you. Let's see if I can show you the die for it. Okay. See this die here? This gives you eye options. One is just plain eyes that you can cut in black and just use as is. The other is a separate set of eyes that has like a little indentation, a little a hole almost, that helps you have a guide for where you might put eye sparkle. If you look over here, you can kind of see that I've used the same placement as those dots for a little bit of white pen eye sparkle on our characters. So depending on if you like that or not, feel free to use that second set of eyes. Now the third set of eyes though is the one for our cutie witch, and you can choose if you want to add that, eyelashes to other shapes or just use the ones that I've shown you. It's up to you, but it's kind of fun to have some options. So let's add a little bit of glue right where I want her eyes to go. About here, maybe about here. And I'll use my little pickup pen here, and we'll get her eyes and eyelashes into position. There we go. She just has a little bit of eyelashes, just add an even greater little bit of personality there. And we'll let that dry for just a moment before I do this, but I wanted to show you my technique for adding white sparkle. I've showed this on lives before, but it works well. It's a good tip to repeat. So I'm just using a small stylus. Let's see if I can get it to focus on it. Very small tipped stylus. I could use the other end, and sometimes I do, but this one, the eyes are small enough that just a simple stylus is all I need. And with my paint bottle, I find that this little bit that collects in the lid is really all I need. And I'm just going to add a teeny bit of eye sparkle to her eyes. Let me dot that twice. There we go. And I like using the paint over a paint pen just because my paint bottle just doesn't dry up on me. Paint pens, it seems like they'll work great for a short while, and then after that, they tend to dry up. And then I'm wondering why I spent so much money buying them when I could go buy a stylus and a cheap craft paint for about $1 and be all set. I'm going to dot that second one again. It didn't get quite as dark as I wanted. Or I guess with it being white paint, as light as I wanted. There we go. We'll let that dry. I don't know, I still have a little bit in the eye there that didn't quite get it all the way. So let me try that. Third time's the charm. Normally once is all I need, but sometimes when you're making a video or people are watching, it doesn't turn out the same as when you're by yourself. Okay, there we go. That looks good. So white sparkle in the eyes, complete. All right, now next. Now you have some options depending on how tall you want her to be. There is a die, let me show you, right here, that will kind of give you the chance for some socks. So if you decide you want that little bit of socks showing, and I can show you an example. Let me grab one of my other earlier ones. See that little bit of sock showing? If you want that, you can put that there. I'm not going to use it this time. This time I'm just going to let her boots just come out of the bottom of her dress, just because that makes her a little bit shorter. And the card design I have in mind for her, a little bit shorter, is helpful. So optional socks. Depends on how much you want to poke out of her dress. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue. You can see what fun detail we have on the boots. So I'm a little sad to lose some of that. That's why you might want the socks if you like that boot detail. But this time, for the sake of height, we're going to go ahead and just let the tops of those boots poke out just a little bit. And we'll let everything else just be hidden underneath there. Kind of like I mentioned on Saturday, I'm a bit of an eyeballer. So we're just going to eyeball that to see if it looks pretty straight. And you can see it's still cute. You can still see the tips of her feet if you look at it from an angle. Tips of her boots. Okay, and now just a little glue here on the bottom of her shirt. And we'll set that just on top. Push her down just a bit. Good. Now she is all assembled and ready to be added to one of our cards. And now optional, you also have this die in the set, and it creates your little treat bucket. And I find that customizing the colors is awesome. And if I give this a little trim, it actually shows the black through. I think for this particular card, I want the handle to be black. Have a nice contrast. So we'll glue this one on top of this one. We'll see. I'm not even sure if there's quite enough room on the card for this treat bucket, but we'll have it in case it fits. Okay. And we'll have that handle showing in a contrasting color. Be cute. Okay. There we are. Costume Cutie number 1 for our cards tonight, all put together. And she's so cute, and I love the extra color and sparkle in her dress adding to her. Isn't she adorable? Okay, so I'm going to set her aside for a minute. Let's work on another one here. This one is our ghost, and he's a nice, fun, easy shape. You can see my post-it note still holds my acetate. He doesn't have too much going on for him. He's got some pants and some shoes, and then just his little ghost outline, and then his eyeballs and mouth if we decide to use the mouth. Oh, and I forgot to get his foam shaker. There we go. Pop that out. So let's go ahead and get him assembled as well. Pull off that adhesive liner and line him up with his background piece. Okay. And then I'll give him a good push just to make sure we don't have any escaping shaker toppings. And let's pop that out. Good. And now he's all ready to fill some of our fun shaker mix here. So let's give him a couple scoops. He's got a little more space in him. We can fill him a little bit more generously here. Something like that. I think I want just a little bit more purple in there. Let me grab a couple. This little tool is great for customizing your shaker mix. If you want to take things out or in, I'm famous for putting together a mix, looking at it and then going, oh, no, that's not quite right. And then I'll go and grab this tool to help me take out what I put in that I didn't like. Or in this case, just make sure we get in just enough purple in there that we have lots of good color. Okay, looks good. Needed the purple. The purple helps tie it together. And cover off, and let's get that acetate. There it is. And we'll quickly cover him up. Push down to make sure everything stays in. And there we go. Now he can shake around. Got one sideways in there. That happens a lot. There we go. Another one sideways. We'll just lift it up just a bit. There we go. Now we can roll around proper. Okay. Don't be afraid if you find something not shaking the way you had intended when you put it your tap on, your acetate tap on. You can peel it back up a little bit. Give it enough wiggle room to lay back down. And then your acetate just snaps back into place. Okay, ghost top. Decorative cover for our foam there. Make sure that stays where we want it. Okay, now he has pants that are just going to peek out the bottom. And you could use him just as a ghost, just as he is. But since these are costume cuties, these are cute little kids all dressed up, we're going to go ahead and add his pants sticking out the bottom. Not too much. Don't want him to be too tall. But yeah, just enough to see that he's got some pants and shoes coming out the bottom there. And then we'll add his shoes to the bottom of his pants. And then he's almost set, just needs a little face. And again, you have those options for how you want to add the face. This time we're just going to use the plain ones. And then you can also decide too, he's got a little smile in there, and we can decide if we actually want to use it or not. I think we will today. But you could just do just the eyeballs. A couple of drops of glue. And let's pick up our plain eyes. There's one. See if we can get that to stay down right where we want it. Normally, I try to remember to cut these small shapes, especially small black shapes, out with a little bit of score tape on top. And today I forgot. So we're just using glue. There we go. Get his eyes there. And I have just a little bit of extra glue that I don't want, and that's another good reason to keep a stylus handy. So I can kind of go through. Fingernail might be better. I actually had quite a bit of glue seep out. So I'm actually going to take that right off and try that again. This glue does dry clear, but I don't want a little smudge. So let me rub that with my baby wipe off just a bit, just a second. Okay, a little better. Still a little bit seeping, but that's all right. When it dries, it won't really be noticeable. Okay, now a little bit of a mouth, and it is really tiny. And so again, I'm wishing I had remembered my score tape when I cut them out. I'm just going to add the teeniest little layer of glue on that. And then I'm going to actually dab it on my finger just to make sure nothing's going to actually seep out. And we'll get his cute little mouth on there. Perfect, okay. And we'll do the same thing for his eyes that we did for our witch. By getting this little paint thing going. So question for everybody while I'm dotting his eyes. Are you participating in any of our card making challenges this week? I hope so. And maybe if you're not participating in challenges, maybe you're just creating at home for your own sake. Okay, there we go. Cute little ghosty. Okay, so shaker number 2, all set and ready. Let's do shaker number 3. This time we are going to assemble our zombie girl, and I just love her. She's got the cutest little expression, but then she also has that little bit of brains poking out the top of her hair there. So we'll put that together. We'll start with her shaker. You do not have to start with the shaker. Matter of fact, even the die guide kind of gives you a different way of putting them together because there isn't just one. But I tend to usually do the shaker first. Just helps me stay organized. Although it is good to look at that die guide and see if there's any pieces that that you need to add, kind of like we did on the of our witch there. Okay, there's her little skirt, and this is the top piece of her skirt. And now we can take our little shaker mix and fill it up a little bit. I'll probably have some extra left over, which is good because I still have other shakers to make with this kit. Let's add a little bit of that into her skirt. And I think I want another blue disc in there. It's pretty good. Maybe just a few more of the little sprinkles. Let's bring out some color on that side a little bit. Okay, looking good. Now, here is the cover to her skirt. Again, I love my little post-it notes to help me keep track of things. If you're leaving them in the pouch they come in, that can help too. But when I'm getting it organized in order to demonstrate, oh, wait, one thing I forgot to tell you. You know, the bottom of her skirt is not symmetrical. So make sure when you're getting ready to put that liner on, that you get the right side up. Otherwise, it won't fit. Okay. Sealed in good, shaking around. Very cute. Let's cover the foam with our decorative top. And have yet another skirt finished. Now with this zombie shape, you'll see the same thing I was mentioning with the witch, that you have those options for feet. But with the way that her skirt is, I think it makes a little more sense to make sure that we use her feet. Or, you know, and in this case it would be legs, but of course with the witch, you know, you got to have a cool striped sock. So I would cut that out of the black and white striped paper if I was doing another witch. But for our zombie girl, we've got some some green color legs that we'll glue underneath her skirt, and they'll just be poking out just enough to reach her shoes. Her skirt is definitely a little less tall than the witch one. And again, you don't need a whole lot poking out, just enough to fill out her shape. You can kind of keep the top of her shirt showing to help you kind of gauge how far down you might want them. And then where's her shoes? Here they are. One shoe here, and where's the other one at? There it is, underneath the brains, of course. Okay, so shoes. And of course you could do it without shoes too. But today she's going to wear shoes. One nice thing about having so many dies is that you have so many options for how they're going to turn out. And of course you could cut the shoes out of any color you want, or however you want to customize. Okay, let's put together her head. And just like with our witch, she's got a base like this, and she's got two hair pieces, although her hair pieces both go in front. So she's kind of got almost like little pigtails going on, right? So we'll glue those on. I almost grabbed the paint in order to glue the hair. That won't work. So we'll glue her hair down first. About there. So you can still have a good face going on there. You can see that unlike the witch, we have her hair all in front. And the main reason for her having two pieces isn't because we're going behind her head, but her bangs are going to come out front like this because we are going to tuck that little bit of brain showing out in between the two pieces. So let me get that going. I'm going to choose to do it on the left side. You could do it wherever you want. We want it to show up high enough that it's clear what's going on there. Purple brain. And then her little bangs pieces will go in front, and that kind of helps fill out the rest of her face shape at least. And you can pop it up with some foam tape if you want that little extra dimension, or you can just glue it down flat like I'm going to do right now. Yeah, about like that. Now you can see her kind of wild and crazy hair, but with the brains poking out at that top corner. Okay, now let's glue her shirt down. Her shirt is similar to the witch, but it's a little more rough cut shape. So if you're looking at your dies going, which is which here? I probably should put the glue on the green body. We'll probably have a little glue to wipe up underneath, but that's okay. I'm going to bring it down just a little more. Okay. Now, her skirt attached to her shirt. And she will be nearly complete. Oh, actually, I probably would have normally done her arms first, but that's okay. Her arms are the same concept as the witch, and having the skirt done second kind of helps them to be a little easier, but it'll still work this way. Okay, so a little glue on the back of the arms, the top of the arms. Remove that one for a second. This green that I'm using for her skin color is from the solid paper pad. So if you were picking up the extra paper pads and picked up the solid, you'll find this fun kind of mint green, light green color that makes a fun skin color for some of our monster shapes. Zombie, maybe even the vampire. Of course, I don't know, I did purple with him, but a couple of fun options in there for how you might do it. Okay. There we go. Oops, let's even that up a little bit farther. Okay, now she's got her hands on there. Okay, now another fun thing about her is that she has a few of these fun patch dies that come with her shape just to kind of round out the zombie feel here. Her outfit is definitely a little worse for wear. We're going to give her a couple little patches onto her outfit. Get one over here. We'll just kind of spread them around her outfit. We can get one down here too, just to kind of help her have that well-worn look here. She might have been through a lot, but she's still smiling. She will in a second. Or you could skip the smile altogether and she doesn't have to smile. But there we go. Okay, so let's do the same thing we did before with the eyes. A little drop of glue here. And here. And we'll get those eyes picked out. I want the ones, maybe this time I'll show you how it works with the eyes that have the little indentation. Can you see that? There, the little indentation. And then we can show you how to get your sparkle in that spot. Or of course you can just leave it. The sparkle is not in any way required. I think it adds a little bit to their personality. Okay. Let me straighten that up just a little bit. Now, if I bring this up to the camera, hopefully you can still see that little, yeah, you can, that little indentation, kind of helping you know where you might want to place your little bit of sparkle. And again, if you don't have to use my method, if you have a little white paint pen or maybe even a little glitter pen, a little dot right in that spot just adds that little extra bit of personality, making them come alive a little bit. There we go. And that is 3 shakers all assembled and ready to go. Well, oh, I guess I forgot. She does have a mouth. So maybe you guys will have to vote and tell me what you think. Mouth, yes. For a little bit of a smile. Or maybe since she's a zombie on the brain hunt, maybe we just leave it off. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think for right now we'll leave it off, but we'll see. Maybe it will change my mind in a bit. Okay, so those are our 3 shakers from our Costume Cuties kit all assembled. So let me push a few things aside here. And let me talk to you a little bit about our die cutting guide. Because it's a little different than others that we've done before. Okay, I'm going to bring it out here and I'm going to zoom out so you can see it better. In the past, all of our die cutting guides have always been making it so that you can create approximately 6 to 8 cards, I think. We might have had one that did 5, I can't remember. But this one, I wanted it to be as simple as possible. I wanted to make it so that we could even simplify the die cutting guides. Because if you're cutting out if you're cutting out 4, 5, or 6 pieces of pattern paper, well, it just takes a little while. And it takes a lot of dies to track down. This one is only going to have 3 pieces of pattern paper to cut up. And then I also changed a little bit about how I indicated our non-pattern paper. I changed it, instead of being like half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet, to a 6 by 6. Because we have all those great solids in our solid paper pads. I'm trying to see if I have the Costume Cuties one. Well, what's left of it, right? And you even have like nice light grays often, dark blacks, different solids. And I just thought, you know, maybe we should make all of our non-pattern papers 6 by 6 as we show how to cut, as that makes it a little easier to maybe change the color if you wanted to. So you would need 3 pattern papers. You would need 2 solids in something neutral. White is always, I show how to use white, but you could change it to something else if you want. And then you're going to need some card bases. You're going to need 4 because we're making 4 cards this time. And then if you want to, you can also change the card base to a different color. So that's what I've got going on over here. I've got several of these different card bases that I cut, again, out of that solid cardstock. And I used our background foundations, our background, you know, fun ones that add the fun stitching all the way across the front of an A2. So that's that. Now, let me show you also what you need is you need some foundation dies. This particular set uses dies from 26, 27, 7, let me think, 6, and also 20. So not a whole lot, but definitely not, you know, some of them I'm lucky enough to have them all the way down to just using 2 of them. And I can't do just 2 this time, but I think it's only 4, maybe 5 if you count that one. There's only 1 die from 20, this one. But you're going to go through and gather all of the dies that are shown in the die cutting guide. And then you lay them out as I've showed you on your 6x6 paper pad. And that gives you the chance to be able to have a feel for how you're going to cut your paper out. Now you can do it all in one pass if you like. I usually have to do 2 passes. We have a couple duplicates in some places, so you're going to have to do 2 passes on some of these anyways. But it's pretty simple no matter how you decide to do it. Cutting out a few at a time or cutting out all of them at a time. You just want to make sure this is how your paper is cut when you're done. Don't forget you have a few ones that go inside of others on this particular one. You'll do the same thing for your neutrals or your white cardstock. And then when you're done, let me show you what that will look like. I already went through and did that ahead of this particular class. And you can see here, I chose for my polka dot paper, I chose to do some stars from the Costume Cuties paper pad. And then here, instead of the purple, I chose to do a blue color from the same paper pad. And here are my white pieces. I did choose to do white. And then here from a green, I went with green. So, and you can see I've done a little bit of pre-stamping as well to help us with our assembling to go a little faster for the sake of time. But once you are done cutting and you have your different shapes ready to organize, I suggest you take your card bases, and I'm going to put out my 4 card bases that I have already decided to use. Oops, wrong one. There we go. See, I even chose a pattern paper this time. Just depending on what look you're going for, you might want something similar or something different. And then you're going to take your sketches that are included on page 3, and then you'll find all of your pieces, and you can start assembling how these are going to look. So let me zoom out just a little more, and we can start having these come together in a way where we can get our cards made. So let's start. We'll work on die guide 9, sketch 1. So you can see that I'm going to need this large rectangle, and you can see, we cut out the middle of it, but based on the sketch, you can see no one's going to know. So let's see if I remember which one. This is going to go on my green. So first that large rectangle, then you see we have this nice scalloped white piece. It's going to kind of be the home base for one of our shaker shapes. And that's going to go right here and cover up part of our hole, right? Oh, nope. I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. I grabbed the wrong one though, but that's okay. We've got our, let's see, border pieces in the white. So we've got a white border piece. It's going to go right here, and we're going to use it to help cover up our hole underneath there. And then, oh no, that's not even the right border piece. So you've got a couple different options here. That's the one we need. That will go there. And then also you've got in the, there it is. In here, another, nope, I think I've still grabbed the wrong one. Sorry. I should have to remember which color I chose for each thing here. And I've got them wrong here. So hold on just one second, okay? Our teal is going to be our purple. Green, polka dot is going to be stars. Okay, that helps me. We'll try that again. Okay, so pull that out here. This one here, that was right. Then this one, and that will help us cover up our hole. We'll line those up so it'll cover the hole. And then we also need from our green this little piece here. There we go. And a circle, one of those larger circles. Zoom out just a little bit more so you can see. Oh, no, that's as far as we go. Okay, I'm going to leave the stars for the end because there's a whole bunch of them, and I think I'll start losing them if I don't get them quite where I had in mind. Oh, I know what I'm missing. I pulled out the wrong one. That's why it looks strange to me and why I got confused. This piece is missing that goes in between. So you're going to cut out this piece with a couple pieces missing, and it will sit on top here and help us hide some of our holes. Okay, there we go. And that'll help us have a little more contrast in some of the shapes or some of the colors too. Okay. There we go. Now we've sorted out what we need for card number 1. Let's work on card number 2. And we're going to need this large green frame. And I'm going to use this black and white striped paper for this card. And then let's grab our big white scalloped piece from our white pieces here. And then let's grab our polka dotted, stars in this case, shape here. And then we have this little banner piece that's going to help us kind of hold our focal point in place, ground it a little bit. And we should have another star piece right here. There we are. And then our other smaller pieces, let's grab the largest. So I should have, one little circle here and then a large green star. I'll save the smaller ones for later again, just so I don't lose track of them. I do have one more of these small green circles here, and that will be card number 2. I've got a sentiment piece too, which I've already stamped. Let me grab that too. Trick or treat. That will go there. Okay, now let's sort out sketch number 3. We should have a large polka dotted banner piece, and that will go on my purple card. And after that, we're going to need a green rectangle. You can see we're going to cover that up. No one's going to know there's a hole there besides you and me. Okay, our fun little postage stamped edge piece here. And we have this little white piece here that normally would have our sentiment. But when I was playing around with how I wanted this to be designed, I decided I wanted my stamp down there. So I could leave this off, but I think it still kind of makes a nice grounding piece. So I'm going to leave it anyhow. And then a large green circle up here. Oh, nope. I skipped it. I missed it. I forgot. This is going to go here because I already stamped the sentiment on that one. So let's switch that up. There we go. I forgot I already stamped that sentiment too. Stamped them all, but I forgot. Okay, and then a small green circle down here. And we'll grab the large polka dotted star, but the other smaller ones, like I said earlier, we'll leave for later. Okay, and that gets us to our final sketch, sketch number 4. Let's grab our green and our, what do you call that, turquoise color, and our large holding spot, our large anchor for our shakers, or for, actually this card is not going to be a shaker. You notice we only put together 3 shakers. I have something else in mind for this particular card. And then we have that banner on the left side. And then we're just left with our, one more polka dotted circle, or sorry, star circle. Shows polka dot in there. And then just our little stars, which we'll come back to. So you can see I still have them here in this container. And the same thing in the other containers. I've got our, well, they're upside down, but our little stars here. And the green ones. So maybe I'll put them all in one now so I can keep track of them all. There we go. And I'll put the rest of these dishes out of the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and start assembling. Let's see, I'll move this here. Which one should we do first? This one I'm going to save for last because, like I said, I have something special planned there. But let's go ahead and assemble this one. This one is going to hold our zombie girl. So let's bring her down. You can see how that's going to work out. And let's go ahead and glue her card together. The nice part is once you've finished all of your cutting and sorting, you really can assemble a whole bunch of cards really fast. So let's go ahead and see how quickly we can have these come together. Okay, this banner goes up here on the left-hand side, about there, and helps anchor our additional pieces that are going to build on it. We put the sketch where you can see too, so you can kind of see how I'm following along with it. So this one here, and our green rectangle. About here. Yep. Followed by our postage stamp home base here that will mainly hold our zombie girl. And that one fits so nicely on that rectangle. Kind of helps highlight the postage stamp edges on the different colors there. Adding that fun little bit of texture. Okay, now I'm not going to glue this one quite yet. Let's see exactly where we want her to stand. So this is where the height comes into play, right? So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit because she's going to stand on it and fill up the space there. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, so we'll keep that white really close to the bottom. There we go. Just a little bit of that postage stamp bottom showing. And then we have our green circle, which I could pop up, but I'm afraid if I pop it up, well, I'm going to have to pop her up too, and I don't think we're going to do that this time. I certainly do that from time to time. But for tonight, we'll just go ahead and add that circle as is, just as it's shown in the sketch, to that upper right-hand side. There we go. A perfect little home for her. Give her some glue on the back. She's not so pretty on the back, is she? Okay, but no one needs to know that but us, right? Same thing about the back of our shakers as the holes in the background of our card. No one needs to know but us, right? Okay, let's bring her up just a little bit. There we go. Oh. Phone alarms aren't supposed to go off when I'm recording, but they do anyways. Okay, and now this little circle is going to go right here on the edge of that white. And I want it to be pretty far over because I don't want too much of that green melding together. I want to have our two opposite circles kind of giving us a Z formation through the card for the eye to travel through. Look how cute. Now we just need to add her stars. So for this, I am going to add some foam tape. Let me go ahead and grab that. I go through a lot of foam tape normally because that little bit of dimension can just make a card so cute. So let's take the star and add it about there. And then from my little container of extra stars, let's go ahead and grab hers. She's going to have a small teal right here and then one of the medium-sized stars over there. Okay. And you can see on the sketches, or not the sketches, on the die cutting guide, that I even went through and tried to help show you with this stands for small, M for medium, and L for large, which one to put it where, because I know that can be confusing when you can't always tell exactly where something should, which one should be chosen, which die. But hopefully that helps. I know that was a much requested feature, and hopefully that makes it a little easier to use the die guides and to get correct which die you're using. Okay. Little star right there. Little star up in that corner. Now we'll add just a little bit of bling to her and we will be all set. So I have a couple of choices here. I've got bubbles and I've got goosebumps. Let's zoom in a little bit. I get this going. And I'm just going to add, I think, bubbles. A couple of little clusters of color and bling around her stars, I think. Oh, let me move that over just a little bit. Just to give it a little, let's see. I'm not loving this one. This one might be a little too dark for my taste. Let's add a couple of purples. I might even just do all purple on this card. We'll see. Let's pull that purple over and take the green off. The colors are close, but when they're not quite right, I'm not sure it adds the way that I would like. And I don't know. Green? What do you think? I'm an over embellisher. Maybe the green is okay. Okay, maybe the green is all right. But there we go. So now I'll just take a card front and we'll glue her down. Oops. Almost knocked over my holder, my glue holder. But we're good. Now let's go ahead and glue her right to the front of my card. And now she's all done. So card number 1, all finished. Hope I didn't quite get that base straight. Let's see if I still can. A little bit of wiggle room to get right, hopefully. There we go. Thank you, liquid glue. A couple of seconds to hang in there. Okay, card number 1, all finished. All right, let's go ahead and move our bling aside, and we can start working on card number 2 here. Our trick or treat card. Now, if I remember correctly, this card is going to be our witch card. So let me bring our little cute shaker witch over, and we can start assembling this card. Move our pieces out of the way so we can start with that frame. I love the contrast of the frame up against this black and white paper. Let's see how that looks once we get it all glued down. That bright green really pops off that black and white. All right. So the frame just gets perfectly centered, or at least as close to perfect as we can get it by eyeballing. I know I asked in the last live who is an eyeballer. So this time, how about measurers? Who are our measurers? Do we have anybody out there who really will? You know, and I guess I kind of do a little bit because I use that grid on the background. But if you are somebody who will make sure that it's perfect, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see if we have any that prefer to get it perfect. I think once in a while, after I finished a card, I wish I was that kind of a measure. I'll look at something and be like, And then I'm also a taker-aparter. Anybody else do that? Are you willing to actually take it apart? After, I mean, not all the time, but once in a while, I'll look at something and be like, okay, I can't handle leaving it that way. And so I will actually go through and take it apart and redo it, recut out shapes. So which are you? Are you it's plenty good enough and just leave it alone? Or are you somebody who will at least occasionally go back and take it apart and try again? Let me know that in the comments. Okay, small banner to house our fun little strip of pattern paper. Oh, I should show you the sketch I'm working on too. Let me put that where you can see it. Let me scoot my pieces over and then hopefully, can you see the sketch we're working on? Let me zoom out just a little bit. There we go. You can see where we're headed with this sketch. Little home for our pattern paper here on our banner piece. And get that circle there, right there at that upper right-hand corner. And then I'll kind of put our witch down next, and we'll kind of get a feel for how the rest of the pieces might go around her, so that she's got all the room she needs. I love this tiny star paper. It's just a really cute, you know, it's not going to steal the show or anything like that, but it's a really great way to add a little bit of color and interest without overtaking things. Okay, now I want to save room. Now you can see in the sketch, it has the sentiment right here. We're not going to do that. We're going to go up a little higher, so we have room for her. And let's see how we're going to make that work. To move her over just a little bit. Or maybe down. Maybe she can go down a little bit. Oh, that's not bad. Maybe we'll have her about like that. And then maybe we'll move our sentiment up towards the top. Let's see how I want it. Do I want it that far? Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so now I'm going to glue her down so I have a feel for our spacing on everything else. And that will make it so that I don't get the stars in a spot where I'm going to want to pull it apart and move them later. We don't want to cover them up with her. As cute as she is, the stars are cute too. Now, you know, with this particular die guide, maybe you're doing something where you don't want stars. You know, we have quite a few fun little flower dies that you could use instead. Or like if you're doing Christmas, you could do snowflakes. Just kind of depends on... Oh, I wonder if we should do that. Maybe I'll move it over here. Nope, it won't fit. Okay, it's going to stay up there. Sometimes there just isn't quite as much room as you'd like, but we make it work. I move her over just a little bit. So we have a little more room. Okay. Now this can go up here. And I think I'll use some foam tape on that, just for that little bit of added dimension. Okay. I like our sentiments to stand out as much as possible too. Okay. One more. That'll do. And then we can add that to the corner, and then the foam tape will help it stand out from that frame just a little bit. And right about there. There you go. Good. Okay. Now for our stars. And again, with more of that foam tape, where you have these circles are going to help support the flow of the card. You know, we talked about a Z across the other card, but here we've got more of a visual triangle. And so we've got our 3 circles, or even 4, kind of our 3 home bases for circles. So 1, 2, 3, or you could even, sometimes it depends on where you put your focal point, but that can add to it too. I'm going to add this down just a little bit. And a little foam tape on those. And then a little foam tape on our stars. And we'll just about have card number 2 all finished. So one more over there. Okay. How many of you prefer flat and don't use foam tape? Any of you out there that will just kind of go with just gluing it straight down and not worry about the extra dimension? I'm curious. Especially, I think, you know, as we talked about with the shaker pouches, if you're going to mail, of course, then really the less bulk, the better, right? Okay, so let's go to our little dish. We should have, yeah, one little star of this paper and then one more in this paper. And again, I'm going to pop those up a second time, even though that makes them a little bit higher up. Oh, I keep forgetting to turn the sound off. Okay. There we go. My computer doesn't normally make noise, only when I'm trying to record something. Okay. So little tiny bits of foam tape, even though we already have one layer of foam tape, because this tape isn't anywhere near as fat or as thick as the tape that we have on her dress. And so by doing 2 layers, this kind of helps get some of that additional height so that her dress isn't the only thing poking up quite so high. It makes it a little bit more pleasing to the eye to see kind of that scattered height across the card. Let's see, about there. There we are. Okay. Now, we have her treat bucket. And if we want to, we can glue it on like that. So what do we think? Yes or no? Maybe this time we'll do it. Now, I already glued her hands down, but if, well, actually no I didn't, not really. You can pop her hand up a little bit and glue her treat bucket on like that. Should we do that? I like it, let's do it. It's part of the reason that the arms are the length they are, is they give you a little chance to remaneuver for the treat bucket. Some of the shape's arms are reaching out a little further than others, and you have a little more options for how you might do the treat bucket. Okay, should we glue her hand down on that treat bucket? Little dab of glue. Right there. Okay. Now, let's grab that bling. And we'll get just a few little bits of bling going here. And again, I don't know. This is close to that teal, very close. Does it work with this card? Maybe it does more with this card because of the black and white lines, maybe. Let's see how it turns out. I think I do like it better on this card. And maybe just a touch of purple to go with it. Maybe a little up. So simple bling on this one, but that looks really cute. Let's grab a card base and glue her down. And that will complete 2 out of our 4 cards. And the others should come together pretty fast here. Okay. Glue her down. All right. That's 2. So we've got our zombie card and our witch card. And let's pull up card number 3 here. This is going to be our ghost card. Let's pull him over. And we've got our little extra stars here. Okay, so let's start assembling the pieces here of this card. First, I was panicking, thinking I'd made a mistake in the die cutting guide when I had forgotten this piece. I was like, oh, but we'll never cover up the whole hole. That's all right. We will get it covered up with the right pieces of paper if we remember to use them. Okay, but another one of these pieces that no one will know that the middle is missing. We'll get it glued down right in the center of our card. Oh, and if you can't see the sketch, let's see, can we bring that in without covering everything up that we need? Let me zoom out just a touch again. We're doing this sketch right here, number 3. On this fun kind of lime greenish background that again I cut with a backdrop die. Or background die. Sorry, background, I think. Or is it backdrop? We have 2 sets and I sometimes mess them up. And because I have this cold making life extra fun today, we're not doing this card. Oh, goodness. We're doing this card. Crafting while you're sick. Not always recommended. I don't know. You can snuggle up in your pajamas, but my mind is cluttered and not working the way it normally does. Let's get it right. Thankfully, I think that the results are still going to turn out really cute. But then I'm going to go take a nap, I think. My brain is not functioning fully anymore. Okay. Do you craft when you're sick, or is it take a break and just put your feet up time? Let me know that in the comments as well. Okay. Stars. There. And let's see. So again, I didn't stamp the sentiment here like it shows in the sketch because I had something else in mind with this one. So instead I went for stamping right on the circle, which I buried. There it is. So we'll do that. But first let's get this on. And again, this is another fun piece that you might actually pop up. Not going to this time. But you could if you didn't mind the extra bulk, just to help separate it a little bit from that background paper. Or of course you could cut it in a different, more contrasting color if you wanted. Okay, there we go. See how nicely it covers up our holes in our paper? And again, no one will ever know. Now one thing that's kind of fun about these scalloped edge pieces, if you want to have the illusion of almost popping it up, you can actually take the edges and just kind of flick them up a little bit. And that kind of also gives that little extra separation between the background piece and this piece without actually having to add any of that foam tape. So that looks cute. Okay. Now let's layer, before I start gluing the wrong thing, let's start layering our border pieces. So first one that's going to go down is this fun notebook paper piece. It's going to go along the bottom there. Then we're going to build a couple of colors across it for contrast. So first this one, and then our green one will go across, and then finally that white one. And again, because I'm not stamping on it, I could have cut it from a different color or different paper from the paper pad. Kind of just depends on what you have in mind. but I think this time we'll leave it. Let's bring this down just a little bit more. We're just having just a little bit of that paper, that notebook paper show. And then this one on top, I left it white, but feel free that if you decide to customize as well, you can do it how you like. Okay, I probably should have measured this before. See what I talked about by not getting it quite right? So I'm going to bring it down. We'll slip it underneath. Not quite the same as the sketch, but it won't matter. Especially since we're about to put our cute little ghost on there. And he needs just a little bit of a home to stand on, and it won't matter if I didn't have as much of the green showing as I had planned. It's all right. I think I will pop up his sentiment though. So let's get that on there first so I kind of know how much space we need to save. Foam tape, here we go. And that will help us to keep that sentiment front and center. Let me get just a little piece in there. And some on the sides. For stamping on pattern paper and things that are a little bit brighter than, say, just a plain white, I find that I've used lots of different black ink pads over the years, but I'm finding that this one is particularly good when you really need it to stand out and be super clear with the details. VersaFine Clair, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, but that one is particularly good. It has a little bit of a pigment ink in it, and so if you're going to stamp on something that has a lot of color in it or whatever, it's still going to stand out real nice. Okay, Mr. Ghost. Let's get you glued down too. There we go. So yeah, one thing I'm constantly in search for is the best inks and the best way to make sure I have supplies that work well for me. That's why I gave up on the paint pens and went straight to the, just a little bit, there we go. And went straight to the, actually, you know what, let's go all the way. We'll cover up some of that scalloped edge and just let some of it show. There we go. Straight to the bottle of paint. And then same thing with inks. It seems like I've tried a couple dozen black inks to find a favorite. I have a few different favorite ones depending on what we're stamping on. But this one is a fairly recent try. I should have tried it sooner. I've heard about it for ages, but nice to actually have a chance to find one that I like for bright pattern papers. Okay, so let's see. We have, small green, and then this one actually goes over here as well. And then I should have one more green here. Okay, but I think I'm going to change it up just a little bit. I kind of want two, even though the sketch shows, sorry, you can't quite see it, two down here and one here. I'm actually going to change it because I have a lot of white space right here now, especially since the ghost itself is white. So I'm going to change it around and put two over here and one down there. And again, with the foam tape, we'll pop that up. And we'll get those on. So if you're interested in trying this die cutting guide, in the comments, would you tell me what kind of cards you might try it on? Anyone going to try it maybe with Christmas cards or fall cards or birthday cards? Any ideas for how you might use these? Or maybe what paper pad you might try? It's a real nice one because you can use it twice. Like if you could pick out 3 papers from one paper pad, and then you could pick out 3 different papers from the same paper pad, and then you could, you know, make 8 cards using that and not really have to, see, I'm going to angle that differently, and not have to go to a different paper pad or even a different kit unless you wanted to, and yet you would still end up with a whole bunch of very different looking cards. And if you're smart enough to figure out how to keep your dies organized, you could easily cut your different papers, you know, in a couple different passes. So let's see here. Get him done. And let's see, purple bling, maybe not purple this time. Maybe we'll just go with the green. And over here a green. And then maybe this one will look good on this one too. I liked it with the darker colors there. Oh yeah, this works on this card. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Now we'll glue him down onto the front of the card here, and he will be all done too. Okay. All right. And there we go. Our third finished card. And isn't he cute? So fun. All right. Now for our last card, bring over our pieces here. We are going to mix in some of our endless clothesline kit, like I think I mentioned in the beginning. Let me pull up that kit real fast. So this kit here is, let's see if it'll focus. There we go. Is there's a better picture. You can see how it creates this fun little clothesline of laundry. And I thought, how fun would it be to kind of mix and match what's happening in this kit with some of the cute little costumes in our Costume Cuties. So you can see I have gone through and die cut out, one, the clothesline from that kit, as well as all of the little clothespins you can see down in there. And then from our Halloween foundations, I've got a fun little spider, I've got a broom, and a bat. And then from the Costume Cuties kit, I've got the witch's shoes and the witch's hat. And I just thought we could have some fun. Also, so this is the Zombie Girls shirt and skirt. And I wasn't quite sure how many of these we'll get to use. And this is the little legs that I was telling you about earlier, cut from that stripe paper. And I kind of thought maybe they would make socks. So I'm not sure if we'll use all of them or not, but I cut out all these extra pieces. Let me zoom in just a touch here. I thought it would be fun to put together a little witch's clothesline on this card. So let's start assembling the base based on the sketch. And we're just using this fourth sketch right here. There we go. And we'll get the base put together, and then we can have fun assembling our fun little witch's clothesline, which I thought would be adorable and fun. I love Halloween and making Halloween cards, and I thought, well, the Christmas laundry was super cute, but I think Halloween laundry would be really cute too. And maybe you could find some of the other pieces in the Costume Cuties that could also make fun clotheslines, but I thought particularly the witch would be adorable. Okay, so this fun, oh, sorry, I should pay attention to the sketch while I'm talking. Let me lift that edge up because these are actually supposed to go underneath it. Should have done these first, sorry. Pay attention, Ginger, don't get distracted by the cute witch clothes. All right, so now let's put these in place a little bit. Actually, let me lift up this whole piece because it's supposed to be further over than I thought. Oh, and it's starting to dry on me. Well, we'll carefully pull it up then so that we can reapply it where I need it to be. And again, no one will know. Sorry about that. Need to pay closer attention to getting that in the right place. So sorry about that. Ignore that for just a second. Like I said, no one will know in the end. Okay, border piece. I got too busy trying to glue that right down the middle, but it doesn't quite go in the middle. Okay. Now we can add that piece. And again, kind of like with our other scallops, you can kind of even add a little dimension by kind of lifting these scallops just a little, depending on how you glue them. If you don't glue them down all the way to the edge, you can kind of get a little lift of texture out of prying them upward just a little bit, which I think is cute. Okay. Now this piece, I'll try it again. And like I said, no one will know. but the, you know, few of us watching tonight. That's probably the most I would do at pulling up a piece. Probably anything more wouldn't have worked out. Okay, so more towards the right-hand side this time. Okay. There we go. Now we can add our little banner piece on the right side, a little home for our little embellishments. And we can add our fun little border piece across the right side or left side to give us that little pop of color. I buried it though. There it is. Okay. Now this can go on top and kind of cover up the seam there of our scallops in the back. Okay, and now we have a fun little spot where we can take our clothesline and start playing with it. Let's get a little tiny bit of glue, just little bits here and there. Don't want it seeping out as I stick it down. But here's our witch's clothesline. We're going to kind of play with it right about here, I think. All right. Oh, not enough glue apparently. Let's try that again. Stick to the card and not my fingers. There we go. Better. Okay. Was enough glue, just hadn't pushed it down enough. Okay, let's add a few fun things to our clothesline. Let me move this up just a bit so I can get it on camera better. I think the first thing I know for sure that I want is the broom. So let's grab those pieces and glue that together. And I'm thinking that the broom kind of gets anchored on one side of the clothesline, but I'm not going to glue it yet because we may move it. This is one that's kind of fun just to kind of play with and see how it comes together. So let's get the brim on our hat. And the buckle, of course. For that cute little perfect accent. Okay. Now the hat can get pinned. And maybe it'll kind of be more of a center piece. Maybe about here. Okay. Now I have to decide what else. For sure the shoes. Where are the shoes? Maybe over here? And then maybe the bat? I think. Oh, the socks are cute too, though. Let's see. Maybe we'll move the hat more centered. Well, you can hang underneath the shoes and give us a little more space. Maybe the bat over there. And a couple of fun socks here. Well, then maybe that's all we'll end up having room for. Yeah, probably all we're going to have room for. But, you know, depending on what design you go for, you could have other things hanging. The spider's cute, but maybe we'll start with that. So let's get our pieces glued down where we want them. And I'm going to kind of hang the broom on the clothesline, about like that. And same thing, let's get the hat hanging. About there. Move my shoes over just a little bit. These would be fun to also pop up on foam tape. I think we've gone long enough tonight that I'm going to keep it simple and just glue them down, but popped up on foam tape would be really cute too. And our bat. Hanging. Again, those are from the Halloween foundations. Those extra pieces, the broom and the bat. Now some shoes. And then we'll get her cute little dangly striped socks in there. Okay. Couple of socks. And then we'll go ahead and add our clothespins. And that will be, oh, and of course our stars from the sketch and our little circle from the sketch if we have the right space for it. Okay, so socks. And then I have to decide, maybe we'll move this one down here this time with a little bit of foam tape. So we get our clothesline going. Now again, we could have just done one of the shakers from the Cutie set. But I thought, why not have fun mixing and matching those together? Yeah, okay, we'll leave it here. And then clotheslines. So I'm just going to put little dots of glue right where I want each of my little clothespins on the clothesline. Then we can kind of just add them as we go. And I've got my little, there it is, wax tip pen is good for this. It makes it much easier to position them. I know some of you use tweezers. I'm not very good at tweezers. For some reason, they don't work that well for me. Let's see, there we go. Clothespins. I think it's partly because I have the reverse tweezers, and sometimes they work good for certain things, but sometimes I think my brain has a hard time working around the fact that they're reversed. So I keep going to squeeze them to keep them shut, and that opens them. Okay, a few more dots of glue first. So dots of glue at the top of our shoes. I think the broom can just hang. Doesn't need a clothespin. Move it over just a little bit. There we go. And one more. Again, if we were not so short on time, a little foam tape behind each item to help it pop up would have been fun. Still thinking about that spider. He's maybe too big and too dark colored to fit in there, but he could have been fun in a different design. All right, now we have our last couple of stars from our design here, or from our die cutting guide. And I think we're just going to go with just the one here, the one here. Then a little bit of bling. And we will have completed all of our cards tonight. So hopefully you enjoyed watching to see how this particular die guide comes together and how quick and easy it is to cut out this die guide compared to even our other ones, since you only have to do 3 pieces of pattern paper. Okay. What else? Purple. Maybe the purple to help tie the hat together. One more in there. I'm sure you can tell I like to have little clusters of bling across the card to help draw the eye across it. Okay, so fun. Something a little different. Let's glue that one onto its card base, and then we will have completed all 4 cards. Yay! Thanks for hanging in with me as we finished all these. As your reward, I do actually have a little something to show you. We put all of these out where you can see them. So many fun possibilities with that clothesline. I'll have to play with it again sometime when I have a little more time and not constrained by the limits of an online live. Okay, let's see if I can fit them all in here. There are our 4 cards that we created tonight. Maybe this way. There we go. And they turned out great, didn't they? So fun. And let's get a little sneak peek for you. If you've been watching our other lives, then you have seen already our fall kit sneak peek, and you got to see a little bit of a Christmas one. And then also tonight you get a little peek at the stamp set for the fall kit, and that might give you a few extra hints about what is coming in the fall kit. Maybe you can figure out what the other shapes are. My favorite stamp in the whole set is this one here: bonfires, s'mores, apples, sweaters, hay rides, hello fall. Well, thanks for bearing with me tonight, especially as I am still working through that cold. I don't think my brain worked quite as good as normal, but hopefully you still were able to gain something out of tonight's fun. And also, make sure you go to our Facebook group and pick up Die Guide number 9, and then you can have fun creating the same 4 type of layouts, card layouts that we did tonight. So happy crafting, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you again soon. Make sure and catch Marianne on Thursday night for her class. Happy World Card Making Week, everybody.